So I have filmed this video probably 100 different times in 100 different ways. That is a bit of an exaggeration, but you get the gist. I've been trying to find the best way to map all of this out in a clear and concise way that doesn't warrant a 30-minute video. The conclusion that I've come to is that the best way of doing this is probably going to be a life update plus get to know me. Because as I was scrolling through my channel, I realized that I never really filmed a video quite like this, where I just sat down and gave you all of the need to knows about who I am, what this page is for, and what type of content I produce. I know how content and algorithms work to some extent, so I realized that following such a lengthy hiatus, there are probably a lot of people that have already fallen off this page, but that's okay, and that's to be expected. Saying all that to say, I should probably give some type of update for anyone that's new and just coming across my page for the first time as well. Plus, I have some new makeup that I want to try out, so we can make this a really fun video. So I'm gonna break down this video into a few different sections. That way you have an opportunity to skip ahead if there's something that I'm talking about that you're not really interested in. And I'll include the timestamps in the description box below, as well as a few of the products that I'm using, because I probably won't spend too much time talking about the actual products. So first things first, my name is Ronisha. I was originally born in Orlando, Florida, but relocated to Augusta, Georgia for my dad's career and subsequent retirement. I spent most of my life in Augusta, Georgia, and up until recently, which we'll talk about in just a moment, that is the place that I've always known to be home. I'm in my late 20-somethings. I'm a Virgo, September Virgo, because there is a difference, let's be clear. And I am also a makeup lover, if the entire vanity behind me didn't already reveal that. I've been a makeup lover probably since 2013. I jumped on the wave as far as watching content or consuming content in 2013 when the YouTube community was really at its peak. I watched probably a lot of the same girls that you guys watch. And then at some point, I think around 2015 or so, I started to make my own content, but I use the term make my own content very loosely. It was honestly kind of sporadic. Quality wasn't the best, but it was fun. I really enjoyed it. That content creation journey followed me right into young adulthood, and I continued to make content throughout my undergraduate college career. And I even started to incorporate some of my day-to-day experiences as a student into that content as well. So that's about the time where I saw my content create somewhat of a shift into lifestyle content and not just beauty content. So if you scroll down my page, you'll see that I have a few vlogs. I have like some semester review and recap, because at the end of the semester I would actually sit down and give my semester a review, rating the things that I liked and the things that I didn't like about each class. I'm really glad that I went in that direction with my content, because it kind of acts like a visual diary for me now. It gives me something to go back on and look at from my early 20s, which I think is just so cute. And maybe one day when I have children, I can even show them those videos as well if they haven't been archived or deleted for some reason. But somewhere around 2018 or 2019, I'd have to go back just to verify. But somewhere down the line, I started to go through things as a young 20-something-year-old does. And at that time, I completely stopped making content. And to be completely honest with you, I took a hiatus from the internet, like overall. And so unfortunately with that, I lost the opportunity to record a lot of those milestones and memories that have gotten me to where I am today in my late 20-somethings. That's part of the reason why I felt it necessary to make this video, because without the additional context and background information, there really is no transition from where I was in that place in my life to where I am now. And that could be really confusing. Kind of leads me to my next section. Actually, it ties in directly to my next section, which is where you last saw me and where I am now. These are my major life updates. One of the last videos that I made in the middle of that hiatus was my first struggle bus attempt at getting back on track with my content. And that was right in time for my college graduation. I felt like it was necessary to bring you guys in on my graduation, as that was such a milestone experience for me, and a lot of you watched me go through undergrad. So I wanted you to be a part of that big moment, which I think was nice. Okay, I do think that was nice. But unfortunately, that was not the moment that I actually got back on track with my content. Hopefully this one is, but you know, we'll see. But at that time, I think I just kind of showed you guys like the experience of being a COVID grad. I graduated in 2020. And so I had this like graduation from home type of experience. And then I did my final recap and review. What you guys didn't see, which is kind of like more of that in-depth behind the scenes stuff that was going on in my life, is that after graduating, I got my first big girl job. That's what I call it, because it was my first job actually using my degree within my chosen career field. And it was actually a job in research. I really enjoyed that job. It was heavily related to underserved communities and healthcare disparities. We had some stuff that was related to like an underserved school, and supplementing and providing resources for that. Overall, I really enjoyed that realm of work, and I guess I can probably categorize that as the public health field of work. I really enjoyed that job. It wasn't perfect, no job is, but for me, I enjoyed the work that I was doing so much. To be honest, I probably enjoyed it so much that I probably stayed a little bit longer than I should, or I stayed longer than it made sense for me to stay financially, just because I was so attached to the work that I was doing. And also there were a lot of there were a lot of big feelings about it being my first job, and probably a little bit of imposter syndrome on my part on whether or not I could find something better. Spoiler alert, I did. I found something better. So once I transitioned out of that job, I transitioned into another job that was much more in alignment with my long-term career goals, which is ultimately healthcare management. However, that job had challenges as well. That was right around the time where I realized that they all do. The idea of finding a perfect job is a myth, an urban legend, if you will. She doesn't exist. But that was also a moment in time where I really learned the importance of advocating for myself and not accepting what did not serve me. So at the very same time as I was working that job, I also had an opportunity to apply for the second time for my real true career goal, which was to be a commissioned officer in the United States Air Force. And I did say my second time because I am a two-time applicant. It's not something that I shy away from. It's not something that I'm ashamed of. It is a part of my story, and I'm more than willing to share it with anybody that's interested, because I think a lot of times, I know for me specifically, I didn't hear this story when I was applying. And so the first time that I applied and I didn't get accepted, it was just like groundbreaking. This was just like the end of the world. How can I ever go on? Like, it was this really dramatic thing that it really didn't have to be. And it was only because I didn't know that the first no is not final. You still have another opportunity to apply. And I think I was equating that first no as a failure and assuming that it would bleed over into my second time applying. And that's just not how the system works. They really are two isolated and independent application cycles. Just because you got a no here doesn't mean you'll get a no there. And that was my experience. So I applied for the second time as I was working this new job within my field and really enjoying it, and also getting a ton of hands-on, like, direct experience. And even though I really enjoyed my first job in the world of research, it didn't directly translate into healthcare administration in the way that it would have needed to account for like actual hands-on experience. So needless to say, I found ways to make myself more competitive between application 1 and application 2, and it actually worked. Like, it translated. I now have on-the-job experience. I've had an opportunity to shadow. I started my master's program, which is something that I realize I haven't mentioned yet. But I also started my master's in public health program. So I had a few things from one year to the other that probably reflected really well on me as an applicant. And also, I reached out to people to see like what they had in their package that maybe I was missing in mine that could make me a more viable and eligible candidate. So in 2022, I was accepted into the United States Air Force as a commissioned officer. And later on that year, I would go on to complete officer training school, which is the equivalent of basic training for officers. And that's when things really started to get crazy, and it feels like time just went in warp speed. That ends this section. Let's go on to the more personal, some professional development, but more personal sides of how that translated into where I am now in life. So I completed officer training school in December of 2022. And then I went home for about maybe a week, maybe less. And that was truly just to get the remainder of my affairs in order, because I knew that I was going to be moving all the way from Georgia to Southern California. That's my first duty station. If you're keeping up, we went from living in Augusta from age 5 all the way to age 24. And now it's time to move all the way across the country. Okay, but really not okay. That was such a big adjustment for me. And I underestimated it. Like, I was so excited to see something new. I was so excited for this milestone in my career that, for better or worse, I did not spend nearly enough time thinking about what it would feel like to be so far away from my family. I'm a very family-oriented person. I have a bunch of sisters and brothers, a bunch of nieces and nephews, and then, hello, my parents. Like, in my mind, I was like, oh, I'll probably be home like once a month, every month anyway. The economy had other plans. Detail that I have not mentioned, and it's definitely more of a personal detail that I'm really happy to share. Girl, I got married. She's really my best friend. She's an amazing person. I think from the moment that we met each other, we've been inseparable ever since, which is so funny because When I say the moment that we met each other, I mean the moment that we actually had our first conversation, because we worked at the same place for a long time and never talked to each other. Once we had our first conversation, we never had a last one. We've never not talked to each other for one day since then. And so I've seen her through a lot of her big transitions in life. She's seen me through a ton of big transitions myself. In 2022, we actually tied the knot, and we actually had the whole wedding experience a year later in 2023. And that was probably one of the most exciting days of my life. It's one of those things that you dream about as a kid, and then when it actually happens, it's like, I don't know, it's like a very magical experience to watch it all come together. But saying all that to say, she also relocated with me when I moved out here. That's just such a big sacrifice to ask somebody to make, to leave their world behind and come with you on your journey. You know, just to add one more detail to the mix, as if I haven't given enough little mini life updates within this big life update. I'm also in school and now let's just let it rain. I'm also in school for my Master's of Public Health. I graduate in May. It's been a long road. Like I alluded to earlier, I started my program prior to commissioning, took a gap year once I commissioned, because the idea of going through officer training school, getting to my first duty station and getting good at my job while simultaneously trying to complete my master's degree didn't gel well with me. I gave myself a little bit of time just to get in a more comfortable place in life, and here we are. If you know anything about being active duty in the military, then you know that every duty station is temporary. You are seldomly at one duty station for the tenure of your career, and certainly not the plan for my career. So living in Southern California is one small chapter in my overall career journey. I don't know where my next duty station will be, but I know that the timeline is starting to condense, and I'll probably be moving in the near future. And I'm using the term near quite generous. It's totally subjective in what you consider near. I have to maintain a certain level of privacy, so obviously I'm not going to disclose the exact timeline on when I'm going to move. But hopefully, if I can stay on track with my content, you guys will see that move actually happen. Maybe not in real time, but relatively soon after it happens. I'm feeling very proud because I feel like I timed this video very well. We are now in our final segment, which is what's next, what's to come. And I'm not trying to be cryptic in saying this, but some of it you just have to wait and see for. One of the things that I think has been most profound about growing up, especially growing up as a Virgo, a very type A personality, is the discovery that, to my surprise, my little list of things that I was going to check off throughout my life have not gone according to plan. Like, shocking, so hard to believe, gut-wrenching. But for that reason, I've just learned to be a lot more fluid with my plans, because, girl, it don't matter if I do or not. It's not going to turn out the way that I thought it would. Not every time. So while I can give you the broader picture on what I'm expecting to happen or what I would like to happen, I'll save that for my journal at the end of the night. As far as my page, I do plan to continue making content, both long form and short form content. At this moment in my life, the short form content is a little bit easier for me to make, and so I do make that one a little bit more frequently, where these more succinct, sit down, long form content videos are a little bit more challenging. But I do have a strategy on how I want to implement these into my digital catalog as well. So if you enjoyed a video like this, a more sit down and relax video, definitely let me know in the comments, and feel free to subscribe if you feel like we've connected, because love that for us. And if you like more short form content and you still feel like we connected, you know. I also make TikTok videos. I haven't really been active on YouTube in I haven't really been active on Instagram in quite a few years. And Instagram is different for me. It just feels different. But TikTok has been the perfect breath of fresh air. It was actually the first platform that I started to produce content on after my hiatus. So I've gotten quite comfortable over there with posting pretty regularly. So again, if that's something that you think that you may be interested in, I'll include my link to my TikTok down in the description below, in case you want to follow me over there. As far as the type of content that I'm wanting to produce, it's pretty similar to the type of content I want to produce over here, which is more of that beauty and lifestyle content. Which is more beauty and lifestyle content. I also produce some natural hair content as well. I don't think I mentioned it, but the last time that I really sat down and made a video besides my graduation video, I was relaxed. I had relaxed hair all of my life, it feels like. I know obviously there was probably some amount of time in there that I didn't have relaxed hair, but at least from like age 5 all the way through age maybe 21 or 22, maybe 23. I just know I cut my hair off in 2020 in the middle of COVID, like a lot of people did, because I really didn't care anymore. Life was upside down. We couldn't go outside. I got bored and tired of looking at my damaged hair, so I had my now wife, then girlfriend, cut it all off for me, and then we started from scratch. So now it's really healthy and I'm really proud of it. I know that's such a weird pairing of words, but I am very proud to see how much it has grown and how healthy it is. I very rarely put heat in it. You know what, let's just save that for a dedicated video, so I'm about to fall down the rabbit hole. Long story short, lifestyle beauty hair. That's kind of my niche and community. That is the content that I produce. That's all of the topics that I had for today's video. So again, I just want to thank you if you took the time to watch this video from beginning to end. I know this was probably a lengthier one, but hopefully this was the catch up that we all needed. And now let's get into the content. So thank you guys so much for watching.